This is the final part of my video series. So today I will show you step by step how to build an email sign up page. In the last video I created this email sign up page and it works, but it's not very appealing. So in this video we will rework the design of the website because we want people to actually sign up to our newsletter. And if I see a page that looks like this, I'm not sure if I would sign up. We will improve the HTML file and we will also add CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. This is a way to define color, shapes, and size of your objects, basically. So HTML tells the browser which objects exist and in which order they exist. And CSS then tells the browser which font to use, which color to use, how big it is, stuff like that. And it's this combination of HTML and CSS that makes a website visually appealing. And if you want to also have client-side code execution, then you also add JavaScript to the mix. So the first thing is we add a CSS file. So let's create a new folder. Let's call it CSS. And inside of this folder, I will create a new file and I call it style.css. So this is my style.css file. I also need to link to it. So let's link to my CSS file. And I need to tell it where it is. It's in CSS. All right. I can open them side by side. Let's make it smaller. I have my index.php and I have my style.css. And by the way, I could also rename it to index.html because there is no PHP inside, but it doesn't matter. First, let's change the font to sans serif font. So we always need to define what part do we want to change. So which part of our HTML do we want to change? And this time I want to change the whole body. So everything inside of our body, this is everything that we see on the website. We want to change everything. So body, and then it looks like this. Font family equals sans serif. And if we do it like this, it changes to a sans serif font that is installed on the computer. This is also very important. If you use Chrome, and you should use Chrome for web development, you can select something and right click and then inspect. And this will open up this nice information view. And you also see this information right here. So you have sans serif font right here. And you can also be more explicit. So for example, we can use Arial. And now it changed to Arial. I would prefer Helvetica. And if there is no Helvetica installed on the computer, then use Arial. So now it's Helvetica. It looks almost like Arial, but it's beautiful and Arial is not. Let's create a nice background color. Background color. Of course, we could do something crazy like red. It looks like just to give you an idea of what's going to happen. But we're not going to do that. I would like to have some gray tone. And we can do it with the hashtag and then use hex values for red, green, and blue. 1 for red, 1 for green, 1 for blue. This is a very dark color. And you can actually see it in Visual Studio Code here. If we increase the value to 999, then it's a grayish color. And if we want to increase it further, it's again hex values. So we need something like EEE. And this is almost at the top because FFF is at the top. If we save it and reload, yeah. Now we have this nice gray background. I need to change the HTML a bit because I would like to have a div box. A div box has no functionality. It's just to structure the website. But I can define a div box and I can give it a class of type container. And what this allows me to do is I can directly manipulate it in a CSS by using dot because it's a class, and then say container. I can, for example, give it a different background. So for example, white is completely white. I could also write hashtag FFF for white, but I can also just write white. I can define a maximum width of 400 pixels, for example. And so you see, I get a box around my sign up form. However, I would like to float it into the middle, and this works great with display flex and then justify content center and also align items center. And this will move my container into the center. And now I would like to increase the size of this white box a little bit, because now it's very close to the text, which looks horrible. Can define a padding of, let's say, 30 pixels. We can also make the corners round. Border radius, for example, 8 pixel. So as you can see now, the corners are round, which looks pretty nice. Now I would also like to display this form in a different way. And I will show you what I mean, because I can directly manipulate the form and use display flex direction column. The orientation changes and everything is a column now. Everything is very tight, so we need to add a little bit margin maybe. Let's add a margin to the label. Margin. I can add a margin all around or a margin to the bottom. Let's use 10 pixels. And we do the same to the input. And we can also give this input a radius. So let's do a border radius. Let's go to 5 pixel. And we can also give the button a radius. Border, we can define border as none. Input should have 1 pixel solid and we use gray. Yeah, like this. The button could have background color gray. Or maybe even a green. And when it comes to the button, I will also add some padding. Padding top. Let's go with 10 pixels. And also padding bottom. Awesome. And also if I went over my button, I should my mouse should transform into a pointer. So we can define cursor pointer. And now it transforms into a pointer. And now we can also shift everything down a little bit if we give the body a minimum height of, let's say, 500 pixels. Yes, it looks better. And maybe also a shadow. So let's give the container a shadow. We can use box shadow 0, 0, 10 pixel RGBA. It will be black with an alpha of 0.1. So now you have this nice shadow around. If you do something like this, then in Austria we say that you're in jail with 1 foot already, because you should have the privacy policy in place. And everyone who signs up to the list needs to confirm the privacy policy. And so we need a checkbox for the privacy policy. Let's add a checkbox below your email. Yeah. This will be of class checkbox container, because we might need it. Input checkbox. So the name will be agree, and the ID is also agree, because the user agrees. We will add a label for agree. the text is I agree to the I will make a link to the privacy policy, and privacy policy now is a link. So if we reload it, I agree to the privacy policy. If you click on it, you go to pp.html, which doesn't exist. So we create a new file pp.html, and here is where the privacy policy goes. Yeah, so if anyone clicks here, you get to the privacy policy. And one last thing is, as long as this isn't clicked, your users shouldn't be allowed to continue to sign up. How can we do this? First, I need to give the button an ID. So ID equals submit button. And now we add a little bit of client-side scripting. We jump into the head, and below the title, we add a script tag. Inside of the script tag, I will disable the button. I will do so if the window is loaded. And so window.onload, and this is JavaScript now. It's a completely different language. If the window loads, I will execute the function document.getElement by ID. I would like to get the submit button.disabled equals true. So when the window is loaded for the very first time, button is disabled. Let's see if it works. Yeah, I can't really see it. I think we should change the CSS style. So if the button is disabled, then we need a different color. Let's add a little bit of alpha here. Yes, now you clearly see that the button is disabled. Maybe a little alpha. Yeah, this looks great. As soon as someone checks this checkbox here, the button should be activated again. So we need a little bit more JavaScript. Function toggle button. So this function here will be used to disable or enable the button. We will add something here to the input, because right here we can add something that's called onChange toggle button. Every time someone changes this checkbox, this function will be called. Inside of this function, we will then enable the button. So let's try it like this. Enable button false. So disable equal false. Let's see if that works. Reload the page. If someone checks the button, he can sign up. If he presses the checkbox again, he shouldn't be able to sign up anymore. We can actually assign not false, but we can assign the checkbox, which is called agree. And it has a attribute called checked. However, now it's completely inverse. So if it's checked, then it's disabled. And if it's not checked, then it's not disabled. This is completely wrong. So we inverse it. And now it's exactly the way it should be. Please use the link in the pinned comment down below to download your source code and to test my email sign up page. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.